All right, Salim, what's the beginning, middle, and end of Act 3? Let's say you're writing a screenplay. You've just written Act 1, it's brilliant. Act 2A, nice reversal. Act 2B, crisis. And now your character is in its lowest point. How are you going to write the next page? How is Act 3 going to begin? In general, it's going to be a response to the crisis. Just basically that, a response to the crisis. Some sort of response to the crisis. So Act 2 begins with a response to the turning point, right? So the turning point, does it belong in Act 1 or Act 2? It belongs in Act 1. It's the end of Act 1. And the reversal is the end of Act 2B. So the reversal would happen there in sequence 4. So sequence 5 is going to begin with a response to the reversal, right? Sequence 7 is going to start with a response to the crisis. So Tim, it's a good idea to have a glimmer of hope there. The middle of the end is probably going to be the climax. And the end of the end is going to be what? So here's Act 3. And here's sequence 7, sequence 8. So do we have to have the climax here and the denouement here? No. This doesn't really have to be 15 and 15 pages. It's okay. Sometimes movies have long-ass denouements. Like Toy Story 3, it's really the last Toy Story. So the denouement is really long. But usually, what you usually see is struggle in Act 3, struggle, climax. And then you have a little scene of denouement. Remember, in Collateral, it's just a second. It's just a minute. There's a difference between opening image and hook, the hook scene. There's a difference there. And there's also a difference between closing image and denouement. So with Inception, I haven't seen it in years, but what's the scene? There is a scene of denouement, and then there's the top spinning, right? Yeah, it's just, the spinning top is just an optional twist. There's a scene of denouement, and we're like, oh, okay. Denouement is a brief glimpse of the newly established world. What's the denouement in Back to the Future? It's classic denouement. It's wonderful. Marty McFly comes home, and he wakes up the next day, and his dad is cool, and his mom is thin, and his brother has a real job, his sister is hot, and the bully is now the bitch. Biff is now. We just see how everything's changed. So we could end Back to the Future when Marty just comes back to the future, which is the climax. The climax is he makes it back to the future. And then, but you know, we like this. You know, we really want to see what happened. You know, how was history altered? And then we see a beautiful scene of denouement that is exactly like a scene in Act 1, but different. And I think this is a good thing to know. Act 3 is very similar to Act 1, just revised or reinterpreted. And I think that's very clear in Back to the Future. That something about, in Act 1, you know, the world isn't great. Something's wrong about the world. But in Act 2, they learn all these lessons and they achieve their goals. And now we need to see a brief glimpse of the new world to come.